Thanks for tuning in to Harvesting Happiness today for a healthy serving of consciously prepared brain food. This is Lisa Cypers Kamen, your host. Since 2010, we've been broadcasting sound ideas for better well-being. Each week, we spotlight diverse thinkers and doers who are contemporary trendsetters and change agents, devoting their lives to creating a better world. I invite you to listen and change how you think about human happiness. Our award-winning content is fresh, optimistic, and purpose-driven media that promotes well-being from the inside out. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. Thanks for joining me on today's show, which originally aired in December of 2023. We are exploring procrastination and skill building to overcome the fear of failure and anxiety. My guest today is Dr. Patricia Zurita Ona, also known as Dr. Z. She is a psychologist licensed in California and has authored 6 books, conducted workshops internationally and domestically, and runs a boutique coaching and therapy practice specializing in acceptance and commitment therapy for anxiety-based struggles. A key component to Dr. Z's work centers around how we can get unstuck from worries, fears, anxieties, perfectionism, procrastination, and any other form of fear-based reaction so we can all live more meaningful, fulfilling, and purposeful lives. In 2019, Dr. Z was nominated as a fellow of the Association of Contextual Behavioral Sciences, known as the ACBS, for her contributions to the dissemination of acceptance and commitment therapy skills for particular unworkable behavioral patterns. She is the author of Acceptance and Commitment Skills for Perfectionism and High Achieving Behaviors. But I'm lucky to have her in the house to talk about one behavior in particular that just gets under my skin, and that is procrastination. Thank you, Patricia. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm thrilled to have a chance to chat with you.
Me too. Let's define procrastination. And I would love for you to define it in the context of the larger picture, because although I'm kind of focused on this one little area, it is very highly correlated to other behaviors and other high anxiety experiences.
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. I think it's a great starting point for our conversation. I would like to start by clarifying that procrastination is not a matter of being lazy, has nothing to do with laziness. Procrastinating behaviors, postponing behaviors are a matter of skills deficits. A person dealing with procrastinating behaviors doesn't know how to set effective goals, doesn't know how to manage all the discomfort that comes associated with a task or a project, doesn't know how to manage all the thoughts that show up in their mind as they are thinking about initiating a task. And sometimes they don't know how to manage those tasks that are related to areas they are not interested in, when there is a disconnection between the things that matter to them, their personal values, and the task that they're supposed to do. So procrastination, it's about intentionally avoiding, postponing, delaying different types of projects, tasks, or conversations, not because a person is lazy, but because they struggle or they don't know how to manage the psychological processes that push them to avoid a situation.
Interesting. So is it that there are challenges with executive functions in certain areas? Are there blind spots? I mean, I know of a lot of super bright, super effective, super powerful people that operate in many domains really well. And then in other domains, the procrastination is so high, they become paralyzed.
Yeah. Some people have studied the coexistence of ADHD and procrastinating behaviors. So I think there's a lot to say around that. On my case, because of my expertise, what I can tell you also is that I think that behind procrastinating behaviors and perfectionistic behaviors, they are both driven by the fear of failure. I think that is the core psychological process that when a person experiences an intense fear of failing, being a failure, or they hold on to rules about how things supposed to be, how their performance supposed to be, they are going to engage in behaviors that we call perfectionist, like trying to get things right and perfectly, working harder and harder, or they are going to engage in more different forms of avoidance, like postponing, delaying. So I think certainly the intersection of ADHD or other types of neurocognitive struggles have been studied in association with procrastination. In my case, I have worked with many clients that are struggling with both procrastination and perfectionism together, driven by the sense of failure.
That is incredible. I mean, and that is a lot to unpack for somebody who might be experiencing success in so many areas of their lives. And then they've got sort of the uncomfortable door that they don't want to go through, and so they just avoid it altogether. And then the problem exacerbates, right? It has a snowball effect.
That's right. There is a cycle that gets maintained, right? Let's say that as you invite me to this podcast, I start getting anxious and my mind told me things are not going to go well. I am going to make a fool of myself. I shouldn't have this conversation. And basically, I could avoid and tell you, Lisa, we need to reschedule this, or we need to cancel this, or I got sick. Or I may go into over preparing. I may prepare for this podcast interview 3 months in advance, and I may try to listen to every single episode you have put out there. I may try to anticipate all the questions you may have for me. So you may have both this fear of failure can lead people to engage in behavioral excesses, over preparing, working harder and harder, or behavioral deficits, avoiding, postponing, delaying, canceling.
Which creates, to the people closest to that person, a lot of frustration, anger, disappointment. However, having said that, once one recognizes that it is a wiring issue and it's not, like you said, a laziness issue, there's a little bit more space in there, a little bit more generosity, but it still doesn't solve the problem when you want to say, let's just get on with it. Let's complete the task.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Lisa, every time we engage in these behaviors to manage the sense of failure, whether we do things a lot or we don't do them, we're perpetuating the cycle. Right? The cycle of avoidance. And a lot of messages in social media sometimes minimize this by posting things like, just do it, like the Nike approach, just do it, get it done, break the task into small pieces. A lot of the clients that I have worked with, of course, they have received those messages. Of course, they have heard messages like that. The challenge is that we are simplifying something that requires micro skills to manage all the different types of discomfort that they experience in their skin. It's not just about making a larger project into small chunks. It's not about just doing it and forcing yourself to do it. It's about learning to step back and really make room for all the discomfort that happens when you're thinking about a particular project. What shows up in your body? What is the emotion associated with that? What does your mind tell you? Does your mind take you into the future? This is not going to go well. This is not going to work. Does your mind comes up with reason-giving thoughts? I need 3 more days or 1 more hour to get this done. My professor is not going to like this, therefore I don't send it. So these quick approaches to getting things done minimizes a struggle that can be very debilitating for people and that requires different micro skills.
I see this more and more. What about helping people to understand that embedded in life experience for all of us, whether we practice the art of delay or not, failure will happen. Like, it's an inevitability. Failure will happen to us at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Is this part of how you work with procrastination and help people build up a tolerance to the risk of going out and doing something differently? I mean, how does one motivate a procrastinator, an artful delayer?
An apple layer. I love that. I love it. It's a much more compassionate way of describing this.
Because they're good at it. They've developed the artisanry over a period of time.
Yes. I love the question. And as you were asking this question, I was nodding my head and pausing. Here's what I can tell you. Part of the work for anyone struggling with procrastination or with perfectionistic behaviors is all about making room for that fear that comes associated with failing. Every single day, from the moment we wake up and open our eyes to the moment we fell asleep, of course, as you're saying, a lot of things will go wrong. A project that we care so much is not going to go well, it's going to go south. A relationship with a person that we care about is going to get upset with us, or we're going to disappoint someone. I think, but learning to make room for life as it happens requires also acknowledging what I'm feeling, what I am sensing, without rushing through it, without minimizing, without jumping onto the next thing. So in order to learn to make room for life happens and terrible things happen to all of us every day, it's all about, once again, building the muscle of what we call acceptance and opening up to the feelings that come to all those moments when things go south.
We're going to need to take a break in a minute, but I just want to ask you one more thing about building up acceptance within ourselves. Is that related to self-forgiveness, self-compassion, removing judgment? I mean, what are the elements that allow us to have more acceptance in our lives?
Within acceptance and commitment therapy, which is the frame that I use to practice this, I think of anyone struggling with the fear of failure, struggling with 4 core psychological processes. One, they are very attached to the sense of self defined by successes, failures, and accomplishments. Either I'm a winner, I'm a loser, but it's based on the outcomes of the projects I participate in. 2, they're also really, really scared. It's overwhelmingly scary for them to fail. The possibility of failing is too scary. 3, they're also attached to rules about how things are supposed to be, how they're supposed to perform, how the outcome's supposed to be. And they also have rules like if, then. If I get this perfect right, then my career will move forward. If I finish this project on time, then the professor will like me, or my career will be set. And number 4, they are also scared about making mistakes. So these 4 psychological processes leads people to either develop procrastinating behaviors or perfectionistic behaviors. So in response to this, when they engage into this chronic pattern of trying to do things right and perfectly, or this chronic pattern of avoidance, they become very self-critical of themselves, right? Their minds start judging them all the time, and that judgment comes with a lot of shame. So the core intervention or the core skill to practice is coming from compassion-focused therapy, and it's practicing self-compassion in different ways. But a caveat here is that for people who are dealing with this strong sense of failure, they are incredible, high conscious people. Of course, they really care about what they do, whether that's protecting the environment, whether that's living their faith, whether that's in a sports performance. They are high in consciousness on how they want to perform. Yeah. So the perception of failure triggers a lot of shame. They can be extremely kind with others, people they know, people they don't know. But when you're trying to make this shift into self-compassion towards themselves, self-forgiveness when things go wrong, it's a little bit difficult because it has become aversive for them. And some of them, I have heard things in my work with clients like, if I practice gentleness with myself, I will let myself off the hook, and therefore I will make the same mistake again.
Uh-huh.
Right? So there is this fear even about being gentle with yourself, or they tell you, well, if I am too soft with myself, I won't be motivated to get things done. So it's something to keep in mind, right? That we cannot tell this group of people right away, be self-compassion, right?
Yeah.
Practicing self-compassion practices is not about a post on Instagram that quickly says, be kind with yourself, right? It's really about making room for the discomfort that comes of learning to be kind with yourself as you are with others, and making room also for the vulnerability that comes with practicing self-compassion. You cannot practice self-compassion without acknowledging that you are hurting. And that's a hard thing to do many times.
I get what you're saying. Let's take that pause. When we come back, we will continue the conversation with my guest today, Dr. Patricia Zurita Ona. Her book is Acceptance and Commitment Skills for Perfectionism and High Achieving Behaviors. To learn more, please visit thisisdrz.com, on Twitter at Dr. Z_behaviorist, and on Instagram, Dr. Z Passionate Behaviorist. Oh, I love that handle. We'll be right back. Harvesting Happiness is rooted in science. Our work facilitates applied positive psychology practices through media and consulting. We're committed to sound ideas for better well-being, leading to increased life satisfaction and a better world for everyone. We're not into pseudoscience or quick fixes. We're focused on common sense backed by rigorous research. Healthy critical thinking is the foundation for our discussions. We encourage you to challenge preconceptions and explore ideas with a curiously discerning mind. Collaboration with our guests is united by an inclusive vision to boost resilience, critical thinking, communication, and problem solving through civilized discourse and pleasurable relational engagement for everyone. Each day, we have the intellectual freedom to be happy or the liberty to be miserable, regardless of external circumstances. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health, please seek support because good psychological health is vital to the achievement of a healthy and satisfying life. Visit harvestinghappiness.com for psychosocial and educational services that boost emotional and social intelligence. And we're back, continuing the conversation with my guest today, Dr. Patricia Zurita Ona. This episode originally aired in December of 2023. We are exploring procrastination and skill building to overcome the fear of failure and anxiety. Let's get back to it. Dr. Z, before the break, we had touched upon something about motivation, and I think it's really important to remind our listeners that procrastinators do not lack motivation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Completely agree, Lisa. I think that is a very accurate statement. I think a lot of people think, again, that procrastination is about being lazy and that they don't want to get things done. But I think it's important also to unpack some of these misconceptions about motivation. In my work, the classic misconceptions about motivation that I encounter is related to having to feel in a particular way before needing action, before taking action.
So everything aligns, like the stars must align. Everything must fall into place.
Yes. I need to feel X. I need to feel excited. I need to feel motivated to get things done, right? Or another misconception is that you have to feel confident about what you're going to do. If you don't feel confident, then maybe you shouldn't even start the project. The motivation is required to accomplish your goals. If you're not motivated, you won't get things done. Another misconception is that motivation is a personality trait, whether you have it or not. The challenge with all those misconceptions is that they are not consistent with what we have learned on behavioral science. These days, in behavioral science, we have learned over and over throughout multiple research studies that a person's internal experience is not required to take action. This is a little bit counterintuitive.
Love this.
Right? It's very different. So
yeah,
let's say that I have to write a proposal, a book proposal. And I have a sense of the outline and the topic of this book proposal. So because it's a project that matters to me and is consistent with my values of disseminating acceptance and commitment skills for anxiety-based struggles, it is important that I sit in front of the laptop and I start typing. But of course, when I start doing that, I may feel uncomfortable. I may feel like, I don't think it's ready. I may start feeling anxious or afraid. The skill here is to make room for that feeling and say things like, here comes my anxiety. I know this is butterflies in my stomach. I notice my hands are getting sweaty. But what's really important right now, it's to disseminate at the skill. So I'm going to type letter by letter, sentence by sentence. So doing what matters to us and overcoming procrastinating and perfectionistic behaviors has nothing to do with our feelings, with how we feel. It has to do with a willingness to take action while we experience this internal discomfort.
I love what you just said. That the feelings actually are not necessary for the execution of the task. The feelings are present, is what you're saying. They're there, but they're not the driver.
That is right. That is right. But that is a skill that a lot of people don't know how to nurture and don't know how to cultivate. There are many ways in which we can teach this to people. But the take-home message here is that to do what is important to you, to break the cycle of procrastination and perfectionistic behaviors has nothing to do with your feelings. It has to do with showing up as it matters to you as a human being. It has to do with choosing a values-based behavior in the service of living the life and building the life you want to live.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question about when the list becomes so long. You know, the undone list becomes so long that you just, not you, one just sparks out. You know, you come to a place of paralysis.
Yes.
What does one do to help shake it up? Because you need something to break the cycle.
That's right. That's right. And that is also, I think, a very common struggle that the more that people postpone tasks, the list keeps growing, right? Here's what I can tell our listeners, and this is something I coach my clients on how to do it. We'll do an inventory of all the things they have been avoiding, whether that's paying taxes, making phone calls, sending an email, doing the laundry, completing a project. We go over each one of these tasks. And then we write next to each other in which way that task is going to be consistent with who they want to be in the world or not. What's the value that comes with a task? Right? If you have to write a paper, you have to pay a taxes. Why is that important? In which way that is going to help you to be who you want to be? Because it's not about, I think, again, I am not relating to the approach of just getting things done and using apps and using, your calendar, optimizing your calendar, optimizing your time. I'm looking at linking our behaviors with our values.
I think that what you have just said is absolutely eye-opening. That when we can attach the task to our values and how we want to be in the world, the motivation changes, right? Because we then step into being that person that we want to be.
That's right. That's right. And the thing that we have found also in research is that every time we do something that is consistent with our values, that behavior by itself becomes reinforcing for us.
Yeah, it's a reward.
Yes, it's a reward. It's a very intrinsic reward, right? We do the things that matter to us because they feel good. We feel good about ourselves. So we want to do it more and more. But if you try to do things that matter to you, with a hope that you will be happy, bubbly, and you will be less anxious and less stressed, that is not helpful either, because living our values is not stress-free. It's again about making room for the discomfort that comes and still choosing to do what is important. Now, if I can add this a little bit, many times we're doing this inventory of the things that my clients are avoiding, and then we look at how they are related to their values or no, why they are important. And there are some things that are really not important to them, right? They say, I just don't care about this. And you're right. I think they are right. In life, sometimes there are things that are not consistent with our values. So I talk about instrumental tasks that we all have to do. Right? Like doing the laundry, doing the dishes.
The adulting.
The adulting, exactly. The adulting, right? So what we do then is we choose, let's say this week in the next 7 days, what is the value and the area of your life you're going to focus on, and what are instrumental tasks that you're going to do. This is not about doing everything at once, but notice the conversation is not about, okay, your schedule is open from 10 to 12. What are you going to do then? It's not about that. It's about take a look to all these areas of your life that matter to you. Which ones do you want to focus on this week? 2 or 3 areas maximum, and sometimes even 1 area, and we write the behaviors consistent with that. So the question again is about which value are you willing to embrace in your life the next 7 days? And then we ask also, what are the instrumental tasks that you're willing to do on the service of moving forward in life, even though your mind tells you that you shouldn't waste time taking care of this task? And we schedule that. And of course, when we are scheduling this, we anticipate potential blocks and obstacles. And then my clients may say, I am going to feel really overwhelmed the moment that I have to work on my taxes, right?
I thought you were going there with the taxes because nobody likes it.
It's true that, I suffer with that every year.
Me too. I hate it.
And then we try to postpone it many times, like, oh, tomorrow, because it's painful.
Extension.
Extension, exactly. What we practice is at times when some tasks are going to be very overwhelming for clients, we practice visualization of completing the task. No visualization of the task being done, no visualization of the ideal outcome, visualization of the steps,
the action.
Sit down, I need to fill out this form, I'm going to make in this call, because visually, mentally rehearsing the steps that you need to take will help you to make room to the discomfort that comes. You are preparing yourself again to accept and open up to those uncomfortable feelings. And then as you are executing the task, right, you may have a feeling or you may have a thought. You can notice and name them. Here comes the don't do it, doctor. Or here comes that let it go, don't do anything. So you can those thoughts, right? You can practice what we call diffusion skills in acceptance and commitment therapy.
I have one last question and then we are out of time, but I want you to come back because I do think your work is so valuable for our listeners to understand and apply to their own lives and relationships. And my question has to do with outsourcing support. When we are a practitioner of the art of delay, is it valuable at times to, within making the inventory, to also understand where it's better to outsource support for certain tasks? It's cheaper, faster, and probably a better outcome.
That's a great question. And I will tell you why. Because thinking again that procrastinating behaviors and perfectionistic behaviors are driven by the fear of failure, these intense fears of being a failure and making mistakes and rules about how things are supposed to be, how it's supposed to behave. An outcome of that is also that people struggle making decisions and delegating because you are concerned that other people may not do it as well. They don't know the topic. They won't get it. So it is a good exercise for certain tasks to practice making room for the uncertainty that comes with asking someone to take over a project.
Like the taxes.
Like your task like the tech person or other tasks, right?
Housekeeper.
No, that's right. There you go. There you go. There you go.
Accountant, housekeeper, there are certain things that with confidence you can outsource with some direction.
That is
You're
right.
still in charge, right? You're not giving away your power. You are empowering others to assist.
That's right. That's right. And even when we're trying to, when we know, okay, this accountant is reliable, sometimes a person that struggles with a fear of failure may think, will he get it right? Does he have all the information? Maybe I need to check on him, right? So there's a lot of uncertainty management that we also have to practice, but it is helpful to learn to delegate projects because that is another area in which people dealing with a fear of failure sometimes struggle.
Yeah. Will you come back? We should have more of these conversations because I think this is like it's getting really into the weeds of our human behavior. And so many of us either procrastinate or love a procrastinator or no procrastinators.
Yes.
That it's really helpful to understand the wiring behind the behavior, right? Because it's very different than what many people think it is.
That is true. That is true. It will be an honor, of course, to chat with you again about these topics. I think, as we were saying at the beginning, today in the States, 40 million of people are struggling with anxiety. And anxiety can come in the form of fears of public speaking, productivity anxiety, procrastination, perfectionism. So I do genuinely believe that we need to have more resources to manage the fears that we're dealing with these days in a skillful way, in a way that allows us to have a meaningful and purposeful life.
I agree. And the access, to make it so people can access it. Not everybody has the time or the money to see a therapist privately. But what I love about your work is you're also making these tools and these resources available to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a big, big passion of mine, right? I think all of us, we're trying to contribute to the best we can.
Yes, yes. My guest today has been Patricia Zurita Ona. She is the author of Acceptance and Commitment Skills for Perfectionism and High Achieving Behaviors. She is a clinical psychologist. To learn more, please visit thisisdrz.com, on Twitter at @DrZ_behaviorist, and on Instagram, Dr. Z Passionate Behaviorist. And the passionate behaviorist is going to come back because this conversation is not done.
I will love it. Thank you so much again.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us on Harvesting Happiness today. This is Lisa Cypers Kamen on behalf of my guest, Dr. Patricia Zurita Ona, wishing you kind thoughts, kinder words, and the kindest of actions. Until next time, remember, happiness is an inside job. Happiness is your inside job. Please go out and rock your day and remember to be kind to one another. Want to explore more sound ideas for better well-being? Check out our new bonus edition content at More Mental Fitness by Harvesting Happiness on Substack and Medium. Subscribe, listen, and share hundreds of downloadable episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Connect with and follow us on most social media channels. To learn more about lifestyle management and mental fitness consulting services, please visit harvestinghappiness.com. Harvesting Happiness and More Mental Fitness are produced by Lisa Cypers Kamen, Andrea Mengeli, Robin Boyd, Andrea Daly, and the excellent team at Podfly Productions, including Eric Begay, Kimberly Beck, and Alec Guest, in collaboration with TogiNet Radio, KBUU, RadioMalibu.net, and is available on PRX, the Public Radio Exchange.